being a couples therapist and watching Zendaya and Robert Pattinson's new A24 movie, The Drama, was so stressful, so interesting, and so much fun. I highly recommend this movie. But all the thoughts I was having, all the notes I might as well been taking, and all the questions I was coming up with, I should have gotten paid in that theater today. But don't worry, I was there off the clock on a Friday night just enjoying a movie, and I had a time. And so I highly recommend this movie. Spoiler alert now. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. Come back here. Let me know what you think. But I will let you know what I think. I think that maybe in the sequel, more drama. Charlie and Emma move to New York to start a new life, and they hire me as a couples therapist. Now, until A24 calls me, for those of us who did see the movie, starting with this opinion, because I know I'm not alone on this one. If you were to ask me who the real villain of the story is, that maid of honor, Rachel. And let me give a trigger warning now. There's lots and lots of themes about mental health, specifically depression. And then also the big reveal is Emma's storyline with school shootings. And so I just want to offer that trigger warning now, because I am about to get into Emma revealing this story to her friends. And so, yes, that night, everyone had very human reactions, very human, valid emotions to being at that food tasting, being under the influence of alcohol, and the high energy of the wedding being days away, and going around the table and talking about the worst thing they've ever done. For Rachel specifically, yes, finding out the bride you're the maid of honor for almost followed through with a school shooting when she was 15 years old is incredibly shocking. It was valid for her, her husband Mike, and Charlie to be in shock in that moment. And it was valid for her and very real to be triggered because of her cousin's story, and for her to even feel betrayed in that moment for not knowing this about her friend for 2 years. But what happened with Rachel is that she continued to judge her friend. Would you want to be judged, let alone defined, by the worst thing that you've ever done? Would you want to be judged for being a depressed 15-year-old? Rachel not only continued to judge and stigmatize 15-year-old Emma and present day Emma as if she's still the same person, but she did not even reach out to Emma to try to have a conversation. A real honest conversation to try to learn more about what life was like for 15-year-old Emma. What was life like that made 15-year-old Emma fixate on such a thing? If Rachel was a real friend, yes, one conversation would not have repaired such a rupture from that moment at the food tasting, but she did not have a single conversation with Emma. And yes, multiple conversations would be hard and uncomfortable to sit in and have to listen and learn about each other's stories and what came up for them at the food tasting when that was revealed, and why Emma didn't tell her for so long. And it would take a really long time to nurture their friendship back to a good place. But as we see in the movie, not talking about it at all made it even harder. That's the last I'll say about Rachel, because you know who did talk to Emma? You know who did learn the context? Charlie did. I really did believe these two were in love because they really had that conversation, no matter how hard it was. And they had it a few times, and it really disrupted their whole wedding process, going to the photographer and to the flower shop, and it was on their mind even during intimacy, and she threw up a couple of times. It was hard, but they were trying to have those conversations with each other because they were trying to get through to each other. And I always say this about why I love acting. It's the same reason why I love therapy. It's because it's to be human. And so huge round of applause to Zendaya and Robert Pattinson for just showing that. And I'm here to say, yes, it is possible to love after having a childhood like Emma's. It is possible to love someone after you learn this information about them. It is possible, and it's hard work. And we see Charlie do that. He asked her questions, and so did she. She even asked if he still wanted to go through with the wedding. And for me personally, even not as a couples therapist, I feel like they could have benefited from more dedicated time on just that question. Do we need to postpone the wedding? Do we need to take more time to process this some more? But as an audience member and as a screenwriter, I know you only have so much time. And I know with how quickly the wedding was happening, that constantly higher the stakes for the characters. But let's give the couple some credit for that work. But the reality is, a moment like that, as in Charlie finding out about this time in her life, and also finding out that in the 2 years they've been dating, she decided not to tell him. That's something that has to be talked about again and again and again. They have to check in often about their feelings, their needs, their boundaries, what support looks like. Because especially with the reaction from him and her friends, Emma's probably feeling a lot of shame again. If I were Emma and Charlie's couples therapist, I'd spend time on asking Emma to share with us what forgiving herself would look like, what forgiving her parents would look like. I'd also, of course, ask Charlie about his childhood, because we saw intense anxiety in Charlie. And then we also had Emma name his habit of fixating on things. And we learned a little about him in his worst thing he's ever done. He bullied a kid in childhood to the point the kid moved out of town. And then we also saw Charlie lie quite a few times. We would have to talk about what influenced all of the above, and of course the moment of infidelity, and then the shame and regret he feels around that moment, and then how it unraveled during his wedding speech. Charlie and Emma, like any couple, deserve to tell each other what their partner's choices made them feel, how their partner's choices impacted them. They also deserve to hear each other name what they want to be accountable for, the hurt they know they've caused each other, and also talk about what keeping each other accountable to different communication moving forward, to different co-regulating emotions can look and sound like, what forgiving each other would look and sound like, not just after their wedding, but every day in married life. And them sitting at the diner together at the end was a beautiful start to that process. And it was what I loved most about this movie, about this couple, about this ending, because we saw them use again what I like to call reset or repair ritual, something that is uniquely theirs and something that they've been doing since the moment they met. Emma asks, can we just try that again? Or can we just start over? And it's literally giving each other a redo, giving each other another chance. And it's the use of the song, and it's also the use of them role playing, introducing themselves in a new way. I love that. That's a signal, that's a sign, that's a system, that's a safe word, a safe phrase, a safe action that is uniquely Charlie and Emma's and Charlie's. And that's how they come back home to each other. And I highly encourage every couple to create their own way of resetting together, their own way they come home to each other. Because being in a relationship is an infinite amount of those moments, because it is choosing each other every single time. And so thank you, Zendaya and Robert, for showing us Emma and Charlie's humanness. And thank you, Fuerte friends, for watching. April is packed with so many good movies and shows, and I'm so excited to talk about more characters and their humanness here with you on Fuerte Human.